get started with Ready, Set, Launch. So I've divided this little presentation into 3 different sections. We are going to talk about things you can do to get ready, those items that are closer to the set stage, so right before launch, and then what you can do after launch. First, we have redirects. So redirects are one of the most important things to pay attention to when you are editing your website. As you move content from one site to another, there's several things that happen. First of all, you may or may not be actually migrating the content yourself. In a lot of cases, it potentially could just be a theme update, for example, and so that the URL redirects may not be necessary. So in that case, don't worry about that if we contact you to say we'd like to update your theme. If you are creating a brand new website, that is where you'll want to focus on the URL redirects. A redirect is where you want to make sure that if someone on your current site is visiting the About page, that the same link that they're using to get to that About page on your current site, they will be able to get to the About page on your new site. Sometimes that URL or that link path will be the same. Other times it may not. So let's take a look at an example. This is an example of part of an Excel redirect sheet that we create when we launch a website. So for example, if on your current, this says old, but you can think of this as your current website, sometimes the word content was used to represent content, and on the new site, it's not needed. So in this case, content/undergraduate-programs, if someone went there on when we launched, they would get a 404 or kind of a dead end if we didn't put a redirect in place. So by identifying that just the /undergraduate-programs is where someone should land, now if someone goes to content/undergraduate-programs, they will actually be redirected to the new page or the current page. So that's something to look into. And if you have questions about that, let us know. This is something that if we have helped you migrate your content, we will be tracking this along the way, and we will be sharing this document with you. So some of you have that experience already. Others, if you're migrating your content, will be tracking this yourself. So either way, we'll be working together on this document when you create a new website. The next thing is to remove placeholder content. So oftentimes when sites are stood up, you might have an idea for a new page, for example, and have some lorem ipsum text or some example text that's placed on that page. And when you go to launch, you might forget that that's there. So we recommend that you go through and check your pages to make sure that there isn't any dummy content or example content on your page. Sometimes you will see a page on websites that says coming soon or under construction or maintenance or something. That used to be a very popular thing to do, especially in the early days of the internet, as people were creating pages and learning how to digitally communicate with each other through a website. However, what we know is that if you're providing a page of content to someone that doesn't have anything on it that is helpful to them, so for example, if they are sent to a page that says information coming soon, that page is not helpful to the end user. Therefore, it's almost like in marketing where you're kind of promoting, if you promote a bad product, it's only going to fail faster. So what we don't want to do is promote a bad product or have people see coming soon all over the website. So you'll want to make sure to limit that as much as possible. If you have a large event coming up or a large thing, I guess, I don't know what to say, some, I guess, large event or maybe an annual thing that your group does that you promote on the website, and most people know that it's coming and they expect information for it, that may be a different story, but I would encourage you to put at least a paragraph with it so that it's not just an empty page with coming soon. The next thing to look at are internal links. When you create your website, there are website links that you'll use. If you are linking content from a current page to a page that is on your new website, like your current website. So what I'm talking about here is the current website. So your new website you're building, you are creating links on a page to other pages on your current website. That is where you will want to create an internal URL. What that means is that you don't need to put the full URL. You can put only the last part of the path or the identifier for that page. Why would you need to do this, or why would you do this? The reason to do this is so that it increases the performance of your website and that it will move faster. So when people click on the link, your website will know that the link is on the current website, so it doesn't need to go out all the way back to the internet and come all the way back in to find the page, and it helps speed things along. Now, if you forget to do this and you are linking to the full URL on our preview server before launch, which is usually some kind of URL that says bitdev2.ent.isd.edu or something like that, then you might get a 404 if those aren't redirected. So one of the steps of the process for our developers is to go through and redirect anything that would be that preview path to the new path. However, sometimes they may get missed, and so it's just a good practice to use internal URLs. So you can see that here in this case, the www.biology-it.isd.edu/luggage_doc is not needed because that's just the base URL for the site, and you only need to put in the /images and photos. When you see under protocol other, that means that you have done an internal link or created an internal link, and you'll want to say okay and then just check. I always double check to make sure that that link works the way that it's intended. Additionally, you'll want to put alternate text on images, so make sure that they have alternate text on the upload. So when you upload an image, you'll see alternate text field. Make sure that that alternate text is listed there before you click the insert button. If you list the alternate text here after you've clicked the insert button, sorry, I went back, I want to go back, then it may not show up for screen readers and that sort of thing. A way to check is double clicking on your image in the body field, and you'll be able to see the alternate text show up here. If it does show up there, you know that you've done it correctly and that your image has alternate text. So this is something that you can do as you're editing, but it's also a nice thing to spot check and go through before launch. This is also one of the steps that our developers are going to do. They are going to walk through and check to see that alternate text has been added. If they see that there's several images without alt text, then sometimes we will just send that to maybe one of our expert students who will go through and add alt text for you. And so we're doing that behind the scenes when you launch so that you have an accessible website. But it's very helpful and it speeds up the launch process if we don't have to do that. Okay. Next, this is something that I've noticed, that we've noticed recently happening in a few cases where folks will copy and paste images from an HTML website. So maybe they're migrating content from an old HTML, straight up website to a CMS, a content management system like Luggage, and they'll copy the entire page and paste it into the body. And part of that copy includes images. When you copy images from HTML, the link for that image is automatically going to be placed into the new body text, and your image may appear. So you may actually see your image and it may look like it's okay on the new website. However, when we launch and your old website, the old HTML website goes away, that link is connecting to the old server for that to get that image. And so therefore it could be broken on launch. So what you'll want to do is make sure that you download those images from your HTML directory or from your website, and you can do that by right-clicking on them and saying save image as. And if you're not sure how to do it, that's how you could do it. And then make sure to upload them to the new website. Most of you do this already naturally. You've been trained to do it and do it fairly well, but just in a couple cases, like I said, I've seen the other way done. So make sure that your images all show up under the Insert Images field set, and when you can see those little images there, you know that you've done it correctly and that they've been uploaded to the proper server. You'll want to make sure that all your content has been updated. So this is the last part of the big ready section. And hopefully this is something that you'll have been doing all the way through the new website development. As you move forward in creating your website, you'll want to make sure that any new content that you've added to your current site has also been added to the new site. So you want to make sure that if you added a news item, for example, on your current website, before you've launched the new one, that you also add it to the new one. That way, when you launch, all of your news items will be there. Otherwise, the news items will only exist from the previous snapshot or from the last time that you migrated the news items. So make sure that you do that. And just remember that the content that is on the current site is what will go live in most cases. So make sure that, on the new site, on your new site is what will go live. So the content on your current site is what's going to go away. The content on your new site is what's going to go live. So you want to make sure that that's all been moved over, copy and pasted over properly. So this is the set section. So this is a lot shorter. There's just a few things to kind of look out for here. And usually, again, you'll want to do this set section as far as checking your URL probably earlier in the process, but this is the time where our developers and like us are confirming that the URL has been approved by Central Campus and that sort of thing. If the URL for your current website is owned by someone else on campus or another group on campus where your site's currently hosted and Biology IT is now going to host the website, we'll need permission for that URL domain. And so those things usually happen pretty smoothly, but we want to make sure that you're aware that we do need to gain that approval upon launch. And so that's also part of the launch process. If you're a research group, and some research groups have the ability to have a URL that might be a little different than .iastate.edu, those are special circumstances. However, if they are a team that does have that approval, then when that site launches, Central Campus, ITS, so marketing may have approved it, ITS also has to approve it so that that URL can be hosted on our ISU servers. So those are things to look out for. A vanity URL is a little different than a unique URL. So a vanity URL basically means that you come up with a URL that might be shorter or easier to remember, and it automatically redirects people to the iastate.edu URL. And in that case, that's usually a little bit easier to get approval for, and so research groups will do that as well. But again, those are kind of special situations, but I just wanted to bring that up so that you know that those are things that happen at this point. We, as Biology IT, will need an approval from you to launch. So we want to make sure that we get an email from you. Some of you I may talk to in a meeting or something and you'll say, I'm ready to launch. But we prefer to just have an email confirmation to make sure that we're given the go-ahead to move forward. And you can expect launch to take anywhere from 1 to 10 business days. Generally, depending on how much there is to do through this launch process, it can take a shorter amount of time or longer. It just depends on, again, those different approval stages. The developers here at Biology IT have quite an extensive checklist to go through, and we have a couple developers that are experts in that and walk through each of the items very carefully, and it can take a little while to do that. So making sure that we just have some time to launch will be helpful for us. Also, we're moving your content from our preview server to the production server. So there are items such as the redirects and moving of that site that do take some time and have another checklist as well. So there's quite a bit there that happens upon launch. So once you've launched, you can enjoy your new website, and you will be receiving an email from us. We try to get that email out within 24 hours of launch to let you know that you've launched. You should be watching for launch. Once you've given the go-ahead, we can launch kind of wherever we can get it in. We're going to do it as quickly as possible, and then you'll get a follow-up email from us that says this has been done, with information in regards to who's going to be receiving the monthly analytics report. So I encourage you to watch those analytics reports and see how often your site gets visited and which pages are most popular in that report. That will help you as you continue to add content to your site and keep it updated to know the top pages that people are visiting. Also, feel free to contact web support at iastate.edu with any questions along the way, and continue to update that live site. You know, I think once you get launched, that's great. It's also really a good idea if you're in an area with a couple folks around that maybe you come up with a little bit of a plan after launch that says, okay, we're going to update our banner image every month or every week or however often you decide. We're going to update add a news item every 2 weeks. We're going to make sure we have at least another news item up, those kinds of things, so that you have a little bit of a system in place for continuing to update your website for visitors so they can see that you're active and changing. And that is all that I had for today. If you would like to see an archive of these webinars, you can visit the LuggAgeDoc events/archive, and you'll be able to see videos of the previously recorded webinars. I think that most of them are there except for the last couple, as we are in the process of adding closed captioning to those videos, so we work on doing that as well. Okay, with that, does anyone have questions on any of the content that was discussed today as far as launch or anything else that you're working on with your own websites that we can help answer? Thank you for joining me this morning, and especially again with the last minute. Trying to do better at that, and I'll make it my New Year's resolution to do better at getting you information sooner when these are. They are the first Thursday of every month, so if you want to mark your calendars, I I will generally do them the first Thursday of every month, almost like clockwork. So there will be something at 10 o'clock every first Thursday of the month, and you can go ahead and put that on your calendar. And I might just go ahead and send something out to web editors so you can have that meeting on your calendar so that it'll show up. Okay. All right. If you have any suggestions for us, questions, ideas, or topics for these webinars, please let me know, and we're happy to help. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.